Dark Myth, Goku. Dark Myth, Goku is an action role-playing game developed by China-based Game Science. Made with the Unreal 5 engine and set in the novel Journey to the West, players will take on the role of a man of destiny who embarks on a perilous and surprising journey to the West in order to discover the truth of the legend of the past. Backstory of Dark Myth, Goku. At the beginning of the story, the old monk mentions that the world has 3 different stories about the journey to the West. 1. Some people say that he helped the longevity monk to get the real scriptures and was crowned the Buddha of battle. Since then, he has stayed in Lingshan. 2. Some people say that he was not the one who became the Buddha at all, and that the real him died on the journey to the West. 3. Others say that the journey to the West never happened, and that he was just a monkey invented by the storyteller. And then he said, "I'm going to tell you a story that none of you have ever heard." Therefore, in this story, all 3 of the above may be wrong or not so correct. The old monk's words may not have disproved all the information contained in the above 3 points, but rather a few of them. But in any case, we can draw 3 obvious conclusions from the monk's words. 1. The story of the fetching of the scriptures happened, and the monkeys were not invented. There is nothing to say about this, it is obvious. If not, the story would not exist. 2. Goku did not die, but the Buddha is not Goku to say. And there was another character who might have replaced him on the way to Buddha. This is extremely important, and even contains information about the origin of the main character in dark mythology, Goku. First of all, the old monk has finalized the story, affirming the setting of the true and false Goku. Otherwise, it would have been enough to say that Goku died or didn't die, became a Buddha or not, or whether these 2 things happened before or after the quest for the scriptures. Secondly, there is a passage in Journey to the West about the Monkey King being the real Monkey King, and in the legend of Goku, the Monkey King was separated into 2 monkeys, Goku and the 6-eared monkey. This sentence in the old monk's original speech expresses 2 core points: the one who became a Buddha is not the real Goku, and the real Goku died a long time ago. 3. Goku may or may not have helped the longevity monk to get the real scriptures. Goku may or may not have stayed on the mountain. This is where the whole sutra thing gets interesting. The original text of the sutra on the destruction of the Dharma. It was said, at one time, the Buddha was in the country of Dhritarashtra. In the 3rd month of the Buddha's life, when he had attained Nirvana, an infinite number of bhikkhus and bodhisattvas came to the Buddha's place and bowed to the ground. The world-honored one was still, silent, and his light did not appear. The virtuous Ananda bowed and said to the Buddha, "The world-honored one has spoken the Dharma in a unique way, but now the light of the great congregation does not appear at all. There must be a reason for this, and I wish to know what it is." Buddha's silence should not be, such as to 3, the Buddha told Ananda, "I Nirvana after the law wants to destroy, the 5 rebellious world of the devil to flourish, the devil as a salmon to disrupt our way, wearing vulgar clothing, like good robe colorful clothes, drinking wine, eating meat, killing and coveting taste, there is no compassion more hate." At that time, there are bodhisattvas, Bajie, Lohan, all the respect for the cultivation of virtue, the people to teach and educate equality, compassion for the poor, the old and the poor, always with the scriptures and images of the people to be served, and make merits and virtues of the nature of goodness, do not infringe on the people to donate their bodies to help, do not cherish their own humiliation and benevolence. If there is a person, all the devil bhikkhus salty common jealousy, slander and evil, rejected and expelled not to get to live. Since then, they do not cultivate morality, temples are empty, no repairs are made and then destroyed, but they are greedy for possessions and do not accumulate and do not make blessings, sell slaves and maids, cultivate the fields and plants, burn the mountains and forests to harm all living beings without compassion. The slaves are bhikkhus and the maidservants are bhikkhunis, and they have no morals, they are licentious, and they do not differentiate between men and women, and this is the reason why the way is so weak. Or to avoid the county officials to rely on our way, seeking to become a shaman do not practice the precepts, half of the month, although the month is called recitation of the precepts, tiredness and laxity do not want to hear, copying before and after the refusal to say all. The scriptures are not recited, and there are readers who don't know the words and sentences, so they are forced to say that they are not consulting the people. He seeks fame and honor by making a false show of elegance in order to hope for the support of others. After the end of his life, the spirit of the demonic Bhikkhus will fall into the hell of no choice, and among the 5 crimes of treason, the hungry ghosts and the beasts of burden will all experience the sands of the Ganges, and after the crime is over, he will be born in the border country without the 3 jewels. If I hear this, it is usually the beginning of a sutra, that is, I hear it, so this sutra records the words spoken by Sakyamuni at the time of his nirvana. The original text also says that Maitreya will end the chaotic world, and Maitreya Buddha will become the future Buddha, that is, after nirvana, he will become the head of the Buddha's gate, so the black myth is made up of Maitreya throughout the entirety of the sutra. Is Buddhism the domain of demons? Some people bring up the earliest setting, in which Son Goku says in front of the Buddhas that those who are victimized by demons don't know that these demons are just your cute pets. There is also the words of the god of the earth, the temple burned down can be built, but if the hearts of the people are burned down, rebuild a temple, what is the use of it? There are also the words of the god of the land in Zioxishan, who said, how many people who eat vegetarian food and recite Buddhist scriptures and meditate really have a heart like still water? It can be seen that the degeneration of Buddhism is the beginning of the degeneration of Buddhism itself. Then why is Buddhism the domain of demons? In the 5th episode of Journey to the West, Son Goku, fearing that he would be punished for disturbing the Queen Mother's peach party and stealing the golden elixir made by the Goddess of Mercy, sneaked back to the mountain of flowers and fruits. The Jade Emperor was so angry that he sent 100,000 heavenly soldiers and generals to catch him. The immortals were also very angry. For them, participating in the peach banquet is not only an honor, but also has a practical meaning. According to the book, 3,000 years a ripe peach tree, people ate into the Tao of immortality, body fitness light, 6,000 years a ripe, people ate Shiju ascension, immortality, 9,000 years a ripe, people ate with the sky and earth the same life, the sun and the moon with Gang. Therefore, it is very important for the immortals to eat or not to eat peaches. The question is, don't all immortals live forever? Do they still need to rely on eating peaches to renew their lives? In fact, even the immortals will die. It is not easy to become an immortal. In the 32nd episode of Journey to the West, the Silver-Horned King, after listening to the Golden-Horned King's remark that eating the flesh of the longevity monk could prolong his life, said, if we can prolong our life by eating his flesh, what kind of sitting we should do, what kind of feats we should accomplish, what kind of dragons and tigers we should refine, and what kind of females and males we should pair up with. It can be seen that, while the dignified immortals could prolong their lives by eating peaches and making elixirs, most of the grassroots immortals could only rely on their own hard work and cultivation. The reason why they have to practice hard is because they are afraid of death. Immortals are not immortal, but live longer. In Journey to the West, heaven and earth are destroyed once every 129,600 years, and most of the immortals will die in such destruction. How old is the Jade Emperor, the Lord of the Three Realms? According to Roulette, he had experienced such destruction 1,750 times. Even so, the Jade Emperor was still striving for longevity, and the 9 revolutions golden elixir that the Monkey King stole from him was specially made for the Jade Emperor by the Supreme Lord Lajun. It is not difficult to understand how disappointed the immortals were after the destruction of the Peach Banquet, and why the monsters were so obsessed with eating the flesh of the longevity monk. In addition to the threat of natural death, the immortals also have to face the fear of death brought about by punishment. In the 4th episode of the novel, the giant Ling Shen goes to Mount Huaguo to fight with the Monkey King, but he loses the battle in one move. After returning to the camp, King Li wants to execute him on the grounds that he has demoralized his side, but thanks to Neza's intercession, the death penalty is waived, and if he were to be executed, the giant Ling Shen's life would no longer exist. Another person sentenced to death is the little white dragon. The crime was arson and destruction of the pearl given by the Jade Emperor, by his father, the Dragon King of the West Sea. Ao Li Zhao reported to the heavenly court, accused of disobedience, hanging in the air, beaten 300, and was killed in a few days, and then the Avalokiteshvara begged for leniency, so he was allowed to make up for the crime, and assisted the Tang San Zhang in fetching the scriptures from the western heaven. The only immortal in the book who was sentenced to death and executed was the Dragon King of the Pied River. He was sentenced to death because he had a bet with Yuan Shaocheng, a fortune teller in the mortal world, and deliberately changed a few points in the rainfall. Though he won the bet, he put his own life on the line and was eventually sent to the Dragon Terrace and became the ghost of Wei Zheng's sword. Pig Bajie and She Shang were punished in a way that was worse than death. She Shang was originally a curtain general, just because in the Peach Blossom Society broke a glass lamp, was beaten 800, depreciated to the world, every 7 days, but also with flying swords through the chest threatening the rest of the 100. Pig Bajie was originally the commander-in-chief of the canopy in the Heavenly River. Because of drunkenness and teasing Chang'e, the Jade Emperor beat him with 2,000 hammers, and he was relegated to the mortal world and thrown into the womb of a sow. Therefore, the life and death of immortals, in addition to their own cultivation, but also to guard against flying disasters. Because of the sun Goku ate the golden peaches, 9,000 years of ripe peaches cannot be reasonably distributed to the immortals. Facing the problem of life and death, most of the immortals can only choose to go to become a demon to eat people to solve the problem of survival. The master saw this, but did not intervene, because the entire Buddhist sect and even the immortals have stopped functioning normally. Even though the magic power is great, he cannot kill all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, right? And according to the narrator's words, you come together by chance, with different purposes. You want to fulfill the unfinished business of the predecessor, to cultivate the merits and virtues of fulfillment. You want to fulfill the unfinished business of your predecessors, and cultivate the fullness of merit and virtue. You want to jump out of the 3 worlds and seek peace and freedom. And you want to eat a good meal and then be good. But I have long seen through you, full of love and righteousness, and bent on worldly fame and fortune. Singing that fate is not in the hands of God, but believing in yourself, is the choice of God. As long as there is an idol in your heart that you can't let go of, one day it will be transformed into an idol. One day, it will become an insurmountable karmic obstacle on the road to cultivation. From this, we can see that before the journey to the West, the destiny of heaven was not in the hands of the Buddhists but in the hands of the demons. But it seems that some people did not believe in the destiny of heaven and saying that the destiny of the world was not in the hands of heaven. In other words, the journey to the West was to save the coming end of the Dharma era. The statement of being convinced that one's own destiny is the choice of heaven, together with the previous 4 comments, shows that all 4 of the westbound travelers have broken the precepts of insanity, which means that the whole westbound travel plan has completely collapsed. However, Son Goku seems to have sensed something beforehand, so he left something behind, or rather, a doppelganger, which gave rise to the monkey at the beginning of the story. At the end of the story, when the monkey is pulled away by an invisible force, a voice says, "Once you have entered this round of reincarnation, don't think of easy nirvana." In the legend of Goku, Golden Cicada practiced Mahayana Buddhism, while Rudra followed the Hinayana path, and their bet was the origin of the entire book. So this scripture, whether it is Journey to the West or Legend of the Goku, for the fetcher of the scripture, Golden Cicada, that is bound to be Mahayana Buddhism. In the context of the Legend of the Goku, Ksitigarbha may not have wanted it to be so, but he still made this bet. The reason for this is that Rui does not care whether the Golden Cicada can get the true sutra or not, but he is confident that he can crush the Golden Cicada at will in terms of ability and power. He can also make a good show for everyone to see, why not do it? In the context of the Legend of Goku, Golden Cicada wanted to obtain the true sutra, Mahayana, and to prove himself correct with the process of obtaining the sutra. Rudra, on the other hand, says, no matter what scripture you have taken, I only need to prove that I am right, Hinayana. If we add some implicit thick black science of Journey to the West to see, we can still realize the strategic intention of the East expansion of Ling Shan, then Rudra is too happy. What would this story look like in a black mythology? Who is the monkey who wants to kill Ling Xiuzi? And is it really the Monkey King who stops the attack with the golden rod? We have to start from the first PV. When the landlord of Black Wind Mountain saw the protagonist, he looked at him repeatedly and said, he looks like Son Goku, he really looks like Son Goku. This obviously means that he looks like Son Goku. Since he said he looked like him, it means one thing, he looks like him, but he's not. In both Journey to the West and the Legend of the Monkey King, the only monkey that can be recognized as a real monkey is the six-eared monkey. In the Journey to the West, there are only two monkeys, Roulette and To Listen Carefully, who can tell the difference between the real and the fake, and this is what Roulette said. The first is the Ling Ming monkey, who can recognize changes, know the time of the day and the place of the earth, and can move the stars and change the battles. The second is the red-shirted horse monkey, who knows yin and yang, knows personnel, is good at entering and exiting, and avoids death and prolongs life. The third is the tongue-armed monkey, who holds the sun and moon, shrinks thousands of mountains, recognizes the future and manipulates the universe and the heavens. The fourth is the six-eared macaque, who is good at listening to sound, recognizing reason, knowing what is before and what is after, and being aware of all things. These four monkeys do not belong to any of the 10 types of monkeys, and they are not known by any of the two names. I see that the false Goku is a six-eared macaque. If this monkey stands in one place, it can know what is going on thousands of miles away, and it can also know what people are saying. Therefore, it is good at listening to voices, and it is capable of understanding reasoning, knowing what is before and what is after, and it is able to understand all things. This is why he is so good at listening to sound, and is able to perceive reasoning and know the future, and is able to understand everything. In other words, the two minds theory as some people think is not tenable. A stone monkey is a stone monkey and a macaque is a macaque, two different beings. However, it should be remembered that the six-eared macaque has this attribute, it is capable of perceiving reason, knowing what is before and what is after. So, against this background, it is the 6 ears that must die. This also removes one of the points we were left with, the fake Goku became a Buddha, but the real Goku didn't die. Another person who saw through the falsehood of the truth, To Listen Carefully, said the following in response to Jizo's question as to why he didn't tell the truth. I am afraid that if I tell you to your face, the demon spirits will get angry and disturb the precious temple, thus making the netherworld uneasy. He also asked, why can't I help capture it? To Listen Carefully said, the magical powers of the demonic spirits are no different from those of Sun De Sheng. How much magical power can a god of the underworld have? That's why it can't be captured. Jizo said, how can we get rid of them like this? To Listen Carefully, Buddha Dharma is boundless. As you can see, the previous statements about being afraid of disturbing the precious palace and having the same magical powers as the great sage are all just excuses, but the one thing that To Listen Carefully doesn't dare to break down is the boundlessness of the Buddha's teachings. Imagine, with the exception of the Monkey King, who is of comparable power, there are many other top-notch warriors in the audience, and all To Listen Carefully has to do is to reveal which one of them is the six-eared monkey, so what's it afraid of? Moreover, what he was afraid of was not the six-eared monkey's magical powers, but the Buddha's teachings. What is interesting is that To Listen Carefully can hear the hearts and minds of all people, and the six-eared monkey can see everything. Either it does not dare to speak the six-eared inner thought, which understands everything, or it does not dare to let people know that it has such power. Obviously, in the eyes of the infinite Buddha, the ability to listen is not a secret. Then there is only one possibility. He cannot say anything, but has to wait for Ka to point it out. It is as if to listen carefully is sending a message to Rudra, I know everything, but I have a big mouth. Again, on such occasions, it is still necessary for you to give the final word. The question then arises, what is it that to listen carefully dares not say? If it's just that the six-eared monkey is planning to take over from the Monkey King to fetch the scriptures, then it doesn't seem to be something that can't be talked about, and it's also something that's on the table for everyone to see. Then there is only one outcome: the six-eared monkey has seen through the truth behind the matter of fetching the scriptures. The behavior of Six Ears was identical to that of the Monkey King, from his speech and actions to his magical powers and weapons, all of which made it difficult for the immortals to distinguish between the real and the fake. Either this is a deliberate imitation of Son Goku, or it is really the fate of God. The question then arises, what is the six-eared monkey trying to achieve by working so hard? To take a shortcut to the top of the immortal class? Is he trying to change the outcome of his quest for the scriptures? These seem to be the only two possibilities. But don't forget that the six-eared macaque knows everything, which means that it knew what would happen if it did what it did. But he did it anyway. So, it seems that it could not realize either of the two outcomes. This is not the kind of thing that a monkey who knows everything would do. Perhaps what it wanted was just to lay a lead. Let's switch to the legend of Goku again. In the book, there are two characters, Goku and Six-Eared Monkey, but here they are really two minds in one. They are two different personalities separated by Guanyan's magic spell, and they represent the present Goku, and the past Goku, Six-Eared, and to a certain extent, the states of being in bondage and being free, respectively. At the end of the legend of Goku, one Goku kills another Goku, and the author of the book, Jin Ho-jae, cleverly leaves a suspenseful question. Is Goku alive or is he dead? For Rudra, it doesn't matter. What matters is that the living Goku recognizes himself as Six Ears, so that he can wear the self-denial of I'm not Goku and the yoke of self-blame of I've killed the right self and submit to his own feet, so as to obliterate the proudest history of struggle and self-growth of the scripture takers and establish his own supreme correctness. For the living Goku, it doesn't matter. What matters is that whether it is Goku or Six Ears, it knows the weight of the purple veil in the hands of the dead Goku. It doesn't matter to the readers either. What matters is that in the end, the one who doesn't believe in losing is still the Goku. It kills itself and fulfills itself. But this is also a question for all of us. Are you still the same person you once were? Are you still able to devote yourself to a career, a love, a friendship, regardless of fame and fortune? At this point, the real Goku became a Buddha and the fake Goku died, so this point is no longer valid. A famous Japanese schoolboy who was suspected of having eaten the flesh of the longevity monk once said, "Remove all the impossible elements and what remains, no matter how much you don't want to believe it, is the truth." What remains, then, is that the real Goku becomes a Buddha and the fake Goku doesn't die. That is to say, Six Ears planted a lead in the game of certain death and left a way out. The landlord said it was like the golden cudgel in front of Link's Uzi, and the meeting of the two Gokus seems to be explained. Speaking of which, we might as well venture a guess as to how the all-seeing Six Ears is going to break the game. This after its death, to get the scriptures, but the people are dying, and still the demons are rampant in the game? Finding the golden cicada. It all started with a golden cicada. Even with the power of two Gokus, even if the two of them were to merge, regardless of whether they are called Gogeta or Veget, it is obvious that they would not be able to step on the heavenly court and bring down the spirit mountain. Even if the two of them were combined, Gogeta or Vegeto, they obviously would not be able to level heaven and bring down the spirit mountain. Therefore, it was necessary for the golden cicada to use Mahayana Buddhism, considered as a symbol of truth, to purify the world and to spread the world to all living beings. Then where is the golden cicada? The land of the little western heaven said, it must be for that thing. What is that thing? At the end, a thing that can seal the golden cicada and has sealed the golden cicada appeared, the golden bell of Maitreya Buddha. This golden cicada is not simple, it is the artifact that has trapped many immortals in the journey to the west, although in the end, the golden dragon was allowed to drill a small hole through the cracks, so it seems that it is not so unbreakable. But don't forget that the magic weapon that Huang Mei stole at that time was not only the golden snare, but also a human seed bag, which is also a powerful weapon to collect and trap people. Then he used the golden harness to collect the golden cicada, and used the seed bag to collect the hyper golden dragon. This question is obviously do not want to let you have the answer. Monkey stationed in this scene in this statue, according to evidence, is the 28 stars in the hyper gold dragon. It is also a hint. Before that, Huang Mei's words are also of great concern. If you see the future, why don't you worship it? There are two ways to interpret this statement. One is that what you see in the present, the demonic post-scripture taking era, is the future that will exist for a long time. Secondly, what you see is the yellow eyebrow, which is the future Buddha, so why don't you kneel down and worship him? The first one is not so bad, it is just a status quo that exists. Although it may last for a long time, there is still a chance to change it. Secondly, it is horrible. The yellow eyebrow has completely replaced the Maitreya Buddha, which means that there is no future. In the journey to the west, the appearance of Huang Mei is described in this way. But I saw him, his head was puffed up and he wore a flat, thin golden hoop, his eyes were bare and he had 2 yellow eyebrows. He has a bold nose, with open holes, a 4-sided mouth, with sharp teeth. He wears a pair of chain-knotted armor, a woven silk ribbon with a tapered mane, a pair of shoes, and a wolf's tooth stick in his hand. He was like a beast but not as good as a beast, and his appearance was not human but was like a man. But what about the yellow eyebrows in the dark myth? Doesn't he look like he's cosplaying as the Maitreya Buddha in this outfit? In order to enhance his Buddha nature, he even tied a disc with silk behind his head and pretended to be the Wheel of Light. In Mahayana Buddhism, Maitreya Buddha is the future Buddha, the Buddha of salvation. So if the setting is a Hinayana Buddha, it is obvious that he does not want this future Buddha to be incompatible with his own sect, or to replace him. The golden cicada may not be the only one in the golden cicada. In the first PV, Blade Wolf said, "Why don't you come and study Buddhism with me?" which seems to be quite contradictory. The true sutra has been taken, the reason should benefit the living beings, but why are you still here with the big demons and small monsters mixed together to occupy the mountain as the king? What kind of Buddha are you talking about, and what kind of Dharma are you talking about? I'm afraid that this is not the golden cicada's request for the true Buddhist scriptures, but the golden cicada and the true scriptures were sealed, the only official designated use of the spiritual mountain. That is to say, as long as you practice this method and follow the rules, we are a system, not only for the construction site, but also for the bodyguard, the Buddha of victory in battle. It doesn't matter whether you are hairy, scaly, or thorny. In that case, Rula must be from the Interceptor sect. What about those who don't follow this? I guess they are all staying in the Golden Temple. What is the post-scripture taking era like? So far, we've never seen any human beings in Goku, nor any villages or towns where human activities take place. The only type of buildings we've seen are temples. And they're either demonic or snow-covered, maintaining a uniform sense of disrepair. Obviously, if you look at it from an idealistic point of view, after obtaining the scriptures in the West, there should have been Buddha's teachings spreading to all the people, and everyone living in peace and contentment, not in this lifeless state. It even looks worse than before the scripture. I remember when the monkey arrived at Black Wind Mountain, the landlord who greeted him told the story of the destruction of the Kun Yum monastery, and said, "But if the hearts of the people are burned out, what is the use of repairing a broken temple? How did this human heart burn away?" According to the previous speculation, the golden cicada, that is, the Tang monk, after obtaining the true scriptures, was sealed as a god, and then suddenly there was no news, and the Mahayana Buddhist teachings were not promoted and applied. And before the danger of a side of the demon not only came back, as if there is less jealousy become more wanton. All of the past to endure, all in the golden cicada westward trip after become expectant, and this all expectant, and finally become desperate. The Monkey King, who was once not afraid of the sky and the earth, has now become a poker face fighting and winning Buddha in the system. He even goes to rescue a goblin. What about the goblins? As long as they follow the spirit mountain, they have no fear and can control the sky with their hands. When people learn that this is just a game set up by Ruli, and this game does not count the position of mortals, they are just two-legged sheep in the mouth of the demon. What else can one expect? There is still the Six Ears, which is the one who knows everything. In the worldview of Journey to the West, there is no absolute good and evil. Goblins are not necessarily bad, immortals are not necessarily good. If all the goblins are bad, they would not be so afraid of mortals and immortals to seek a strong shelter. If the immortals and mortals are so good, they would not have done the things mentioned before. Perhaps this is a hidden truth in Journey to the West. Immortals, mortals, and goblins are only a definition of racial distinction. Just as in the real world, there are good people and bad people everywhere. If you want to say that the demons in Journey to the West are bad, then you can only say that the immortals and mortals are not much better, right? If you read the original novel carefully, you will find an interesting detail. The author actually draws a clear line between the Monkey King and the six-eared monkey, using the terms this great sage and this walker to refer to the Monkey King, and that walker and that monster to refer to the Monkey King. That monster and that monkey are used to refer to the six-eared macaque, and when the two are referred to together, the term used is also the two walkers and the two walkers. Two walkers. Throughout, the six-eared monkey was never referred to as the great sage. Son Goku's name Walker was originally based on his physical appearance. Walker is a dictionary term meaning a head monk who practices austerities by walking and begging for food, or a Buddhist who practices in a Buddhist monastery but has not yet shaved his head. Son Goku was named by the Tang monk because he looked like a head monk. Sick. Santang rejoiced and said, "This is also in line with our sect. You look just like that little head turner, so I'll give you a mixed name and call you Walker, okay?" The six-eared monkey is exactly the same as the Monkey King, and naturally he is also a walker. In other words, there is nothing wrong with calling Six Ears Walker, but it seems inappropriate to call Six Ears Great Sage, so if you look at the whole text, you will find that the author has never used Great Sage to address Six Ears. Therefore, if you take a look at the whole text, you will find that the author has never used the term Great Sage to refer to the six-eared macaque. When we watch TV dramas, we can't tell who's real and who's fake in the camera, but in the original story, the author made it very clear in his narration. And see the original. Bodhisattva said, "In this case, you do not worry, teach the Goku with you to go to the mountain of flowers and fruits to see. It is true that it is difficult to destroy, and it is false that it is easy to remove, and we will see the difference there." Upon hearing this great sage, from here on, in order to differentiate between Son Goku and the six-eared monkey, Son Goku's title is changed to this great sage and this walker, and later on, that walker and that monster will be used. Later on, that walker and that monster and that monkey will be used to refer to the sixth ear. He and Monk She resigned from the Bodhisattva. They went to the Mount of Flowers and Fruits to distinguish between black and white, and to the entrance of the water curtain cave to distinguish between the true and the evil. I don't know how to tell the difference, but let's listen to the next chapter for an explanation. 58th Two hearts stir up chaos in the universe, a body is difficult to cultivate the true silence. This walker, true, and monk worship resigned Buddha, vertical up to auspicious light, away from the South China Sea. It turns out that the walker somersault cloud fast, sand monk immortal cloud feel late, the walker is going to go first. Sha monk pulled to stop, big brother do not have to hide this kind of head and tail, first go to the root, to be little brother and you go together. The great sage, true, is conscience, but the sand monk has doubts, the real two people with the cloud and go. Not long, the fruit of the flower and fruit mountain, press down the clouds, two people cave outside the detailed look, I saw a walker, false, sitting high above the stone platform, and the group of monkeys drinking for fun. The model and the great saint, true, is no different, is also yellow hair and golden hoops, golden eyes, wearing a brocade straitjacket, the waist of the tiger skin skirt, hands also take a child gold hoop iron rod, feet also step on a pair of suede boots, is also this kind of hairy face lay gong mouth, shuo cheeks do not Saturn, checking the ear amount of skull wide, fangs to the outside. The fangs are borne outwardly. The great sage, real, anger, a hand, leaving the sand monk, switch iron rod to go forward and scolded, what kind of demon you are, dare to change my appearance, dare to take advantage of my children and grandchildren, trespassing in my cave, trespassing on the blessing of this. Seeing this, the walker did not answer, but also used the iron rod to meet him. The two walkers, not the two great saints, were in the same place, so they could not distinguish between the real and the fake, so it was a good fight. The two rods and the two monkey spirits, this is not a light fight. Both of them want to protect Tang Wangdi, and each of them will make a name for himself by performing meritorious deeds. The real monkey was taught by the shaman, while the fake monster claimed to be the son of Buddha. The real monkeys are taught by the shaman and the fake monsters are falsely called Buddhas. One is the Holy Spirit of heaven, the other is the spirit of earth. The former is the real Qi Tian Sheng, while the latter is the earth-shrinking spirit. Son Goku has only been practicing for 3 years to become an immortal, 3 years to become an immortal body. The road to transcendence is not remote, so there is no doubt that Son Goku is more gifted. This is the golden hoop stick of Rui, and that is the iron rod soldier of randomness. There is no victory or defeat in the fight, but there is no loss in holding out against the enemy. Earlier, they fought outside the cave, and a short while later, they were in mid-air. Each of them jumped on the clouds and fought up to the 9th heavenly cloud. Sand monk beside, do not dare to start, see them fight this battle, it is really difficult to recognize the real and fake, want to pull out the sword to help, but afraid of hurting the real. Patience for a long time, and jumped off the cliff, so that the demon subduing staff, close to the Shuilian cave outside, surprised the group of demons, overturned the stone bench, the drinking and eating utensils, as much as possible, broken, and looking for his green felt bag, all around the whole thing is not seen. It turns out that his water curtain hole is a waterfall flying spring, covering the whole door, the distance looks like a white cloth curtain, close look is a water vein, so it is called the water curtain hole. The sand monk does not know the origin of the progress, so it is difficult to find. Even if the clouds, to catch up to the clouds in the sky, the wheel of the staff, and not good to start. The great sage, true, said, monk, you are not able to help, and returned to the master, saying that we are like this, and so the old sun and this demon hit the South China Sea before the Bodhisattva to identify a true or false. After that, the walker, false, also said so. The sand monk see two looks, voice, more not the slightest difference, it is difficult to distinguish between the two, can only follow the words, turn the clouds, back to the Tang monk does not question. You see those two walkers, not two great saints, and walking and fighting, straight to the South China Sea, path to the Luya mountain, fighting and cursing, shouting endlessly. Early startled the guardians of the law of the heavens, that is, reported into the tide of sound cave said, Bodhisattva, really two Son Goku will come to fight. The Bodhisattva and the wooden fork walker, the good fortune boy, and the dragon lady descended from the lotus stage to the door and shouted, where does that evil animal go? These two duplicates grabbed and said, Bodhisattva, this slaying is really like a disciple. Just since the water curtain cave, we have been fighting for many hours, and there is no victory or defeat. Shawujing flesh eyes stupid blind, cannot distinguish knowledge, powerful and difficult to help, is a disciple to teach him to go back to the west to reply to the master, I fight with this sledgehammer to the precious mountain, through the eyes of Buddha, and disciples to recognize the true and false, to identify the evil and the good. After saying this, the walker, false, also said the same thing. All the heavens and bodhisattvas looked at it for a long time and could not recognize it. The bodhisattva said, "Let go of your hands and stand down on both sides and wait for me to look again." He did let go of his hands and stood on both sides. This side said, "I am real." The other side said, "He is a fake." The bodhisattva called Moksha and Shansai to come forward and quietly instructed, "One of you help one of them and wait for me to secretly recite the tightening the hoop mantra to see if the one who suffers pain is real and the one who doesn't suffers pain is fake." He two fruit each help a bodhisattva secretly read the true words. The two together cried out in pain, are holding their heads, rolling underground, only screaming, "Do not read! Don't read!" The bodhisattva did not read, and the two of them grabbed each other, yelling and fighting as usual. The bodhisattva had no choice but to order the heavenly wood fork, up to help. The gods were afraid of hurting the real thing and did not dare to do it. Bodhisattva called Son Goku, two together to answer. Buddha said, "You win the official worship Pilma when, the big trouble in the palace of heaven, the gods and generals all recognize you and go to the world to distinguish the answer." The great sage, real, thanked him, the walker, fake, also thanked him. The two of them were tugging and pulling at each other, yelling and fighting, and when they reached the south heavenly gate, they were panicked that the heavenly king of Guangmio commanded the four generals of the heavenly kingdom, Ma Zhao and Wen Guan, and the gods who were in charge of the gate, each of them blocked the gate with their weapons and said, "Go over there. Is this a place of struggle?" The great sage, true, said, "I protect the Tang monk to the west to get the scriptures, on the way to kill the thieves, that Santang forced me to go back. I path to the Puchuo cliff to see if Avalokiteshvara complained about the pain. I do not want to be this demon spirit, a few hours to change into my likeness, knocked down the Tang monk, snatched away the baggage. A sand monk to the mountain of flowers and fruits to seek, only to see this demon occupied my nest, and then to the Puchuo cliff to ask the Buddha, and see me serving under the stage. The sand monk can say that I am driving somersault clouds, and first in the Buddha to cover up the decorations. Buddha is a positive Ming, do not listen to the words of the sand monk, ordered me to go with him to the mountain of flowers and fruits to see the test. It turns out that this goblin fruit like the old sun looks like, only from the water curtain hole to the Puchuo mountain to see the Buddha is also difficult to recognize, so playing to this place, the trouble of all the eyes of heaven, and I recognize a true or false. Said, that walker, false, also like this said again. The gods of the heavens looked long enough, but also cannot identify, he too yelled, "You cannot recognize, let the way, and so we go to see the Jade Emperor." The gods could not resist, and opened the gate to the heavenly palace, where Marshal Ma and the four heavenly masters, Mr. Zhang Ji and Mr. Su Qiu, preached. There are two Son Gokus in the lower realm, who entered the heavenly gate and claimed to be meeting with the king. Can't say, two straight yell will come in, bluffing that the Jade Emperor that descended from the treasure palace, asked, "What are you two because of trespassing in the heavenly palace, yelling to me to seek death in front of me?" Da Sheng, true, mouth, long live. Long live. I am now converted to the order, uphold the teachings of the shaman, and no longer dare to deceive the heart can be, only because this demon spirit into the appearance of the minister. He then stated the previous situation once again, "I hope you can tell the truth from the falsehood." The walker, false, also made the same statement. The Jade Emperor then sent a decree to the King of Heaven, totally, telling him, bring the demon mirror to illuminate who is real and who is fake, and teach him to destroy the fake and preserve the real. The King of Heaven then took the mirror and asked the Jade Emperor and the gods to look at it. In the mirror were two shadows of Son Goku, in gold-banded clothes, without a hair's breadth of difference. The Jade Emperor could not recognize them, so he drove them out of the temple. The great sage, real, laughed coldly, that walker, fake, also haha joy, laughing coldly is the Son Goku, Probably laughing coldly, is the demon still have some ability? Even the heavenly court of the demon mirror cannot recognize the real and fake. Joy is the 6 ears, to hide all the people, naturally happy, pulling the head and wipe the neck, and repeated out of the heavenly gates, fell down to the western road, said, I and you to see the master. I will go with you to see the master. But the sand monk from the flower and fruit mountain resigned from his 2, and travelled for 3 days and nights, back to the farm. The previous events to the Tang monk said once again. The Tang monk said to himself with remorse, at that time, I only said that it was the son Goku who hit me with a stick and snatched my bag, but I didn't know that it was a demon spirit who pretended to be a walker. Monk Sha also said, this demon also pretended to be an elder, a white horse, and another one, the 8 precepts, picked up our baggage, and another one became me. I cannot help but be angry, a stick to death, was a monkey spirit. Therefore, I was shocked and dispersed, and went to the Bodhisattva to complain about my suffering. The Bodhisattva asked me and my brother to go with him to recognize that the demon fruit and my brother's general appearance. I am difficult to help, so first come to reply to the master. When Santang heard this, he was shocked. The 8 preceptors laughed out loud and said, fine, fine. I have answered the words of this master's mother-in-law. He said that there are a few people to fetch the scriptures, but isn't this another one? All the members of the family, old and young, came to ask the monk, where did you go to ask for money these few days? Monk Sha laughed and said, I went to the East Victory Divine Continent to seek the master brother to get luggage, and then to the South China Sea Puchuo Mountain to pay respect to Avalokiteshvara, but then to the Mountain of Flowers and Fruits, only to turn back to this place. The old man also asked, how many kilometers to and from? Monk Sha said, there are about 20 million miles. The old man said, grandfather like these days, has travelled this much road, only except is driving clouds, can enough. The 8 ring said, not driving clouds, how to cross the sea? The sand monk said, we that counted walking, if it is my big master brother, only 1 or 2 days, can go back also. That family heard, are said to be immortal. 8 ring said, although we are not immortal, or our younger generation. While they were talking, they heard a clamor in mid-air, and panicked to come out to see the 2 walkers, not 2 great saints, coming to fight. When the 8 preceptors saw this, they couldn't help itching their hands and said, let me go and recognize them. He jumped up and shouted, Master, don't yell, I'm coming. The 2 of them answered, Brother, come and fight the goblin. Come and fight the goblin. The family was surprised and happy, saying, it's a couple of cloud-riding Luhan who are resting at my house. Even those who wish to fast for monks can't fast for such good people. Not to mention the tea and rice, more and more offerings, and said, these 2 walkers are afraid that the fight is bad, the earth will turn upside down, as a scourge there. Santang see that the old man in front of the face is happy, behind the back is worrying, that is, said, old master rest assured, don't worry about sighing. The poor monk has collected his disciple and returned the evil to the good, so he will thank you naturally. The old man replied, I don't dare. I dare not. Sha monk said, she masters do not talk, the master can sit here, wait for me and the second brother to go, a family to pull a come to you in front of you, you will read the words, see that the harm of pain is true, no pain is false. Santang said, the words are extremely right. The sand monk fruit up in mid-air said, to stop, I with you to the master to identify a true or false go. The great sage, real, let go his hand, and the walker, fake, let go his hand. When the sand monk held one of them, he called out, second brother, you hold one of them too. He did so, and fell down from the clouds, and came to the door of the grass house. When Santang saw this, he recited the tight hoop curse, and the 2 of them cried out bitterly, we are struggling so hard, but why do you still curse me? Do not recite. Don't recite it. The elder was charitable, so he stopped reciting, but he didn't recognize the truth. The two of them broke away from each other and fought again. The great sage, True, said, "Brothers, protect the master, wait for me to fight with him to the king of Yan to discern." That walker, False, also said. The two grabbed the hand, in a moment and disappeared. The eight ring said, "Sand monk, you have been to the water curtain cave, see the fake eight ring pick luggage, why not grab will come." Shamunk said, "That demon spirit see me to make the treasure staff to hit him fake Shamunk, he is chaotic around to take, it is I care of life away." And told Bodhisattva, with the walker to the cave, his two hit in the air, is that I went to overturn his stone stool, scattered his little demon, only to see a waterfall spring water flow, actually do not know where the cave door open, looking for luggage, so empty-handed back to the teacher's life also. The eight rings said, "You do not know. I asked him to go the year before last, first met outside the cave door, and then I said pan him, he jumped down, go to the cave to change clothes to come, I saw him turn his body to the water a drill, that a waterfall water flow, is the cave door. I think that monster will be our baggage in there also." Santang said, "You know this door, you can take advantage of him or not at home, you can first to his cave to take out the baggage, we go to the western paradise. He will come, and I won't need him." The eight preceptors said, "I will go." The sand monk said, "Second brother, there are thousands of little monkeys in front of his cave, so you alone may not be able to handle him, and it will be unattractive. The monkeys in the mountain of flowers and fruits can't even beat the hunters, how much do you despise the fighting power of your second brother?" Shat, eight precepts laughed and said, "I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid." Then he hurried out of the door, and with clouds and mist, he went up to the mountain of flowers and fruits to look for his luggage. However, it was said that the two walkers, not two great saints, yelled to the back of the Yinshan mountain, which made the ghosts of the mountain tremble and hide. The first one to run away, crashed into the door of the netherworld, and reported to the Senluo temple, saying, "Your Majesty, there are two great saints of Qi Tian on the mountain of Yin." The phrase "two great saints of Qi Tian" comes from the mouths of the little ghosts. The status of the brats is too low compared to that of the Monkey King, and it is impossible for them to directly address the Monkey King by name. Therefore, it is not a big deal for two great saints of Qi Tian to appear in the brats' mouths, but the author's narrator would never call them so. Panic that the first temple Qin Guangwang reported with the second temple Chu Zhongwang, the third temple Song Di Wang, the fourth temple Bian Cheng Wang, the fifth temple Yan Luo Wang, the sixth temple King of Equality, the seventh temple Taishan Wang, the eighth temple City King, the ninth temple Yu Guan Wang, the 10th temple Reincarnation of the King. A hall to a hall, all of a sudden, the 10 kings will be united, and people flying report with the King of Earth. In the temple of Senluo, they gathered the Yin soldiers and waited for the capture of the real and the fake. Just heard that the strong wind rolled, the fog is full of misery, the two walkers, not the two great saints, a flip and a roll, to the temple of Senluo. The king of Yin came close to block the way and said, "What is the matter with the great sage that he is disturbing my underworld?" The great saint, True, said, "I because of the protection of the Tang monk in the west to obtain the scriptures, passing through the western Liang country, to a mountain, there are strong thieves intercepted robbed my teacher, is the old son killed a few, the master blamed me, and expelled me back. I then went to the South China Sea Bodhisattva to complain, I do not know how that demon spirit on the nickname of the mouth, false change into my likeness, in the middle of the road to beat down the master, robbed the luggage. Master brother Shamunk, to my mountain to get the baggage, this demon false teacher name, to the west to get the scriptures. The sand monk ran away to the South China Sea to see the Bodhisattva, I am on the side, he prepared to say the reason, the Bodhisattva, and ordered me to go with him to the flower and fruit mountain to see, fruit of this slaying occupied my nest. I argued with him to the Bodhisattva, but in fact, his appearance and speech were ordinary, and the Bodhisattva could hardly recognize the truth. And with this slaying fight to heaven, the gods also fruit difficult to distinguish, because see my teacher read the tightly banded spell test, and I general pain. Therefore, I have been to the netherworld, hope that the Yunjun and I check the book of life and death, see the false walker is what origin, quickly chase his soul, so as not to teach the two hearts chaotic. The monster, Wu Lao was very direct here, calling the six-eared monkey by the name monster, said the same thing. Upon hearing this, Lord Yin called the judge of the Caterpillar book to investigate the matter from the beginning, and found that there was no such thing as a bogus walker. Looking at the Caterpillar book, he found that the 130 monkeys had been named by Sun Desheng when he was a young man and made a fuss in the netherworld, so he had to write off the names of the monkeys, and all the monkeys since then had no names. After the investigation, when the temple report, Yinjun each holding an otter on the walker said, Desheng, the netherworld has no name to check, you still go to the sun to fold discernment. As he was talking, he heard the Bodhisattva Earth Store King say, hold on. And stay. Wait for me to listen to the truth with you. It turns out that to listen carefully is the name of a beast ambushed under the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's scriptures. If he ambles underground, in a flash, the four continents, mountains, rivers, and land, between the heavenly realms, wasp insects, scale insects, caterpillars, feather insects, heavenly fairies, earthly fairies, divine fairies, human fairies, ghosts, and immortals can be taken into account, the good and the bad, and listen to the good and the bad. That beast by the earth Tibetan Junji, on the Mori Luo courtyard, crouching on the ground, a moment to raise his head, to the earth Tibetan said, strange name, but cannot be said to his face, and cannot help to capture him. Jizo said, what if I tell him to his face? To listen carefully said, if I tell him to his face, I am afraid that the demonic spirit will get angry and disturb the precious temple, which will make the netherworld feel uneasy. He also asked, why can't I help capture it? The spirit said, the demon's powers are the same as Sun Desheng's. How many gods of the underworld can have the same powers as Sun Desheng's? How much magical power can a god of the underworld have? Therefore, it cannot be captured. It is very clear here that, according to the original setting, all the gods of the underworld, including Ksitigarbha, have very little power in front of the Son Goku and the six-eared monkey, which is why to listen carefully heard the truth but did not dare to say it. However, conspiracy theorists always selectively believe in the dialogues of the characters in the book according to their needs on the grounds that the dialogues of the characters are not credible. To listen carefully said, the Dharma is boundless. The Earth Store has long been realized, that is, the Walker said, you two described as one, there are no two magical powers, if you want to identify, you have to go to the Laiyan temple Sakyamuni Rudra, only to understand. Both of them shouted together, that's right. That's right. I and you before the Buddha in the western heaven folding discernment to go. The 10 temples of Yin sent out, thanked the Earth Store, went back to the Qiyun Palace, and had the ghost envoys close the passes of the underworld without question. Look at the two walkers, still two walkers, flying through the clouds and fog, fighting their way to the western paradise. There is a poem to prove it, which says, two minds can bring disaster, and the ends of the earth and the corners of the sea lead to suspicion. I want to think of the throne of the 3 princes, and remember the golden throne of the first rank. The south and the north are endless, and the east and the west have not yet been removed. In the door of Zen, one must learn the skill of not having a heart, and nurture a baby in silence to form a holy womb. The two of them were in mid-air, tugging and pulling, grasping and grabbing, traveling and fighting, yelling until they were outside the Laiyan precious temple on Lingwu Immortal Mountain in the great western heaven. Early to see that the 4 great bodhisattvas, the 8 golden Vajra, 500 Ara, 3000 Jyoti, Bhikkhuni monks, Ubase, all the great saints, all to the 7 jewels of the lotus platform, each to listen to the teachings of R.U.I. The Buddha was talking about this. There is no existence within existence, and there is no existence without existence. Not color within color, not air within air. There is no such thing as existence, and there is no such thing as non-existence. Not color is color, not emptiness is emptiness. Empty is empty, color is color. There is no definite color in color, color is emptiness. Empty is not empty, empty is color. Knowing that emptiness is not emptiness, knowing that color is not color. This is called illumination, and is the beginning of the wonderful sound. Overview of the masses bowed to convert, circulation of recitation time, the Buddha descending smallpox scattered colorful, that is, away from the throne, said to the masses, you are all one heart, and see the two hearts competing also. The masses raised their eyes to see, it is two walkers, yelling heaven and earth, fighting to the lay-in victory. In a panic, the 8 golden Vajra stepped forward to block the way and said, where do you want to go? The great sage said, the demon spirit has changed into my form, and I want to go to the lotus stage, so I would like to ask Ru-Lai to recognize the reality for me. The golden Vajra could not resist, straight yelled to the stage, kneeling in front of the Buddha to worship and tell, I protect the Tang monk, come to build the precious mountain, seek the true scriptures, all the way to the refining of the devil and sired monsters, I do not know how much effort. Before the middle of the road, occasionally encountered bandits' abduction, the commission is the disciple of the second time to injure a few people, the master blamed me for rushing back, not allowed to worship with the Buddha's golden body. I have no choice but to go to the South China Sea, Si Guanyin complained. I did not expect this demon spirit, fake change disciple's voice appearance, the teacher father knocked down, the luggage snatched. Master Wujing searched for my mountain, and was falsely told by this demon that there were real monks to get the scriptures. Wujing escaped and went to the South China Sea, telling the details. Kun Yum knew this, so she ordered her disciple to come to our mountain with Wujing again. Therefore, the two then and true and false, fight to the South China Sea, and fight to the Palace of Heaven, and also had to fight to see the Tang monk, fight to see the underworld, all cannot be recognized. Therefore, I dare to create, 1,000 begging to open the door of convenience, wide mercy, and disciples to identify the evil and the right, so that we can protect the Tang monk in person to worship the body of gold, to take the scriptures back to the eastern land, and always carry forward the great teachings. The audience heard his two mouths say the same voice once, the public also do not distinguish, but Ru-Lai then notify they. As he was about to explain, he suddenly saw Guanyin coming from among the colorful clouds in the south to pay homage to our Buddha. Our Buddha put his palms together and said, Venerable Guanyin, look at those two walkers, who is true or false? The Bodhisattva said, the day before yesterday in the deserted realm of my disciples, the committee could not recognize. He also went to the heavenly palace and earth, also difficult to recognize, specially come to worship to tell the Buddha, thousands of with him to identify. Ru-Lai laughed and said, you and other magic power is vast, can only read about the things of the heavenly world, cannot recognize the things of the heavenly world, and cannot know the types of the heavenly world also. Bodhisattva and show the types of the weekday, Ru-Lai said, the weekday within the 5 immortal, is heaven and earth gods and ghosts, there are 5 insects, is a wasp, scales, feathers, and insects. This is not heaven, non-earth, non-gods, non-people, non-ghosts, also non-wasps, non-scales, non-hair, non-feather, non-kun. And there are 4 monkeys mixed, not into the 10 kinds of species. Bodhisattva said, dare to ask, is that 4 monkeys? Rudra said, the first is the Ling Ming stone monkey, through the changes, know the time of the day, know the location, move the stars to fight. The second is the red Shirai monkey, know yin and yang, will be personnel, good in and out, to avoid death and prolong life. The third is the tongue-armed monkey, who holds the sun and moon, shrinks thousands of mountains, recognizes the future and manipulates the universe and the heavens. The fourth is the 6-eared macaque, who is good at listening to sound, recognizing reason, knowing what is before and what is after, and being aware of all things. These 4 monkeys do not belong to any of the 10 types of monkeys, and they are not known by any of the 2 names. I see that the false Goku is a 6-eared macaque. If this monkey stands in one place, it can know what is going on thousands of miles away, and it can also know what people are saying. Therefore, it is good at listening to voices, and it is capable of understanding reasoning, knowing what is before and what is after, and it is able to understand all things. The 6-eared monkey is the same as the true Goku in image and sound. When the Formic monkey, now that he had been revealed, his name became Formic monkey, heard that Ka had revealed his true nature, he was so frightened that he jumped up and ran away. When Ka saw him leave, he ordered the masses to lay hands on him, and they were surrounded by the 4 Bodhisattvas, the 8 golden Vajras, the 500 Avalokiteshvara, the 3000 Jyotisha, the Bhikkhu monks, the Bhikkhuni, the Upase, the Canon, and the Moksha. Sun Desheng, still using the term Desheng to refer to the real Son Goku, was about to go forward, but Rula said, "Goku, don't make a move, wait for me to capture him with you." The monkey was so scared that he thought it would be hard to get away, so he changed his body into a bee and flew upward. Rula threw up his golden bowl and dropped it right over the bee. The audience did not know this and thought that the bee was gone. Rudra laughed and said, "Don't say anything, the demonic spirit is not gone, it is under my bowl." The audience went forward and lifted up the bowl, and there was a 6-eared macaque. Sun Desheng, in the closing scene, the Monkey King kills the 6-eared macaque, could not help himself, so he wheeled up his iron rod and killed it with a blow to the head, making it the only one of its kind. The narrator says the only one of its kind, implying that the 6-eared macaque is a real monster in the book. Ksitigarbha could not bear it and said, "Good. Good." The great sage, although there was only one Monkey King left, the author continued to refer to him as the great sage, said, "Ksitigarbha should not be merciful to him, for he has injured my master and robbed me of my baggage, and according to the law, he should be asked for the crime of injuring a person with wealth and robbing him in the daytime." Rula said, "Go and protect the longevity monk to seek the scriptures here." The great sage kowtowed and thanked, "I told Rula that the master must not want me, and if I don't take him in, I'll have to work hard again. I hope that the Buddha will facilitate me to recite the loose hoop incantation, take off this golden hoop, and return it to the Buddha, so that I can go back to secularism." The Buddha said, "Don't think about it, don't make it difficult. I will teach Guanyin to send you there, and I am not afraid that he will not accept you. Protect him well, and then you will return to ultimate bliss, and you will also sit on the lotus platform." That Kunyum was listening to, that is, put their palms together and thanked the Holy Grace, leading the Goku, easily driving clouds, followed by the wooden fork walker, White Parrot, together with the catch-up. Not long, to the middle of the grass house home, Sand Monk saw, and urgently invited the master to meet. The Bodhisattva said, "Monk Tang, the one who beat you the day before was a false walker, the 6-eared macaque, who was fortunate to have the knowledge of our Ulai, and had been killed by Goku. Now you must take Goku in, for the devil's obstacles have not yet been removed, and he must protect you before you can go to the Spirit Mountain to see the Buddha and get the scriptures, so don't be angry at him again." Santang kowtowed and said, "I will follow your instructions." Is worshipping to thank, just heard the east on the wild wind roll, all I see, is Pig 8 Ring carrying 2 bags, driving the wind and arrived. The fool saw the Bodhisattva, fell down and bowed, "The day before yesterday, I left my master to the Huaguo mountain Shuilian cave to find the baggage, and saw a fake monk fake 8 rings, were killed by the disciples, was originally 2 monkeys' body. But into it, Fang found the baggage, then check, a lot of things. But driving the wind to turn here, I do not know how the whereabouts of the 2 walkers." Bodhisattva to the Buddha to recognize the strange things, said once again. The nerd was very happy, "Thank you very much." Teachers and disciples thanked, Bodhisattva back to the sea, but as usual, all agree with the same heart, wash the wrongs to solve the anger. And thanked the village house family, the whole bundle of bags and horses, looking for the road and the west. It is the middle way to separate and disrupt the 5 elements, subdue the demons and gather together with Yu and Ming. When the gods return to the heart, the Zen will be settled, and the 6 senses will be eliminated, and the elixir will be formed by itself. After all, I don't know when Santang will be able to meet the Buddha and seek scriptures, but let's listen to the next chapter for an explanation. The identity of the 6-eared macaque is thus clear. The 6-eared macaque is a real demon, and the author has therefore made a very strict distinction between the 2 monkey kings. The author has never referred to the 6-eared macaque as the great sage, so the rumor that the Monkey King is the Monkey King and the Monkey King is the Son Goku alone is not a rumor that has ever been dispelled. Many people have noticed that the word 2 hearts appears several times in this chapter of the book, but what exactly is the meaning of 2 hearts? As one of the 4 great masterpieces, the story of Journey to the West is a household name. We all know that the Journey to the West tells the story of the great havoc in the Palace of Heaven and the Journey to the West, but this is only the bright line. In fact, there is also a dark line in the Journey to the West, that is, it is a kind of cultivation of the journey. Ape and monkey Taoist body with the human heart, the heart is an ape and monkey meaning deep. Son Goku in the book is called Heart Ape, Heart Ruler, Heart Master. In the book, Son Goku is called Heart Ape, Heart Monarch, Heart Master, Original Heart, and Son Goku is used as a metaphor for the practitioner's heart. For example, the title of the chapter, The Tao of the Outside to confuse the true nature of the spirit to help the heart. This chapter describes the silver corner into a wounded old Taoist confuse the Tang monk, and thus have the opportunity to assassinate Son Goku with 3 mountains to pressure the Son Goku, and the mountain gods and land and the 5 heavenly kings and the mountain to remove to help Son Goku escape. The title of the outside of the Taoist, the true nature of the spirit to the spirit and the heart to the silver horn, respectively. The title of the chapter is The Heart, and the title of the chapter is The Heart, and the title of the chapter is The Heart. The title of the chapter is The Lord of the Heart was fortunately broken by the devil. This chapter tells the story of the Son Goku who was trapped by the centipede spirit's golden light array, and after getting out of it, he came to Vishnu Bodhisattvas to break the golden light array, and the Lord of the Heart is the pronoun of the Son Goku. In the poem Pushing Down the Side Door of the Religion, the Heart Lord smiles back. The background storyline is that Son Goku pushes Ruyi Zhenxian to the ground and leaves happily after hitting the water. Here, the side door refers to Ruyi Zhenxian, and the Heart Lord refers to Son Goku. It is not difficult to realize from the above allegorical description that Son Goku is the heart of the practitioner. The monsters encountered on the journey to the West represent the demons encountered in the practice of Buddhism. The title of the chapter, The 7 Sentiments in Pansy Cave, the 7 spider sprites symbolize the 7 sentiments, and Son Goku kills the 7 spider sprites to cut off the 7 sentiments. The title of the chapter is Zombie Devil. The white bone demon is called the Zombie Devil, and Son Goku beats the white bone demon 3 times to cut off the 3 zombies. In this chapter, Son Goku kills 6 thieves who are robbing on the road. The ancients called the 6 consciousnesses of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind 6 thieves, but Son Goku's 6 consciousnesses are 6 thieves. Son Goku kills the 6 thieves to symbolize the elimination of the 6 thieves. The title of the chapter is The Lustful Evil and Lustful Playing with Tang Santang, and the scorpion spirit naturally represents the lustful evil. All the evils need to be overcome by the heart. That's why Son Goku's experience of cutting down the evils and eliminating the demons along the way. The whole story of Journey to the West is about the heart overcoming all kinds of evils and ultimately accomplishing the fullness of virtue. However, the moral and the plot are independent of each other. Just as the spider spirit, representing the 7 passions, the scorpion spirit, representing lust and evil, and the white bone spirit, representing the 3 corpses, are all real demons from the point of view of the plot, so too is the 6-eared monkey. The title of this chapter is 2 Hearts Stirring Up the Great Universe, 1 Body Difficult to Cultivate True Silence. The Son Goku is the heart, and the 6 ears naturally symbolize the 2 hearts. The 6-eared macaque also has another symbolism, that of 6 consciousnesses. At the end of the book, the Monkey King, True or False, concludes with this poem: the middle way separates and disrupts the 5 elements, and the gathering to subdue the demons unites them with Yu and Ming. When the gods return to the heart, the Zen will be fixed, and the 6 consciousnesses will be eliminated and the elixir will be formed by itself. In other words, in terms of plot, the Monkey King chapter is about Son Goku's killing of the 6-eared monkey, while in terms of moral, it is about a practitioner's cutting off of the 2 minds and dispelling of the 6 consciousnesses. The real Monkey King died a long time ago, under the baton of the 6-eared monkey. It was all a conspiracy by Ru-Lai, the 6-eared monkey who escorted the longevity monk and became the Buddha. So was it really Son Goku who died in the real Monkey King or the fake Monkey King? Today, let's talk about this topic. Who really died? In the 57th chapter of Journey to the West, the chapter on the true or false Monkey King, many readers were divided. Some of them thought that it was a conspiracy by Ru-Lai, that the real Son Goku had been killed by a single blow, and that it was the 6-eared monkey who became the Buddha. So why did Ru-Lai do this? Why did the Monkey King do this? It was because the Monkey King was disobedient and did not want to go to fetch the scriptures. Whenever he was scolded by the longevity monk, Son Goku wanted to go back to the mountain of flowers and fruits to become the king, and he didn't do much on the way. The most common trick he used to do was to ask the monkey to call for help, so Ksitigarbha intended to let the 6-eared monkey, a more obedient monkey, replace him. Why was it arranged by Kung Fu? Because the 6-eared monkey was too well equipped. First of all, he had the curse of the tightrope. Who gave the Monkey King the curse of the tightrope? Who gave it to the Monkey King? Ksitigarbha gave it to Guanyin. This is a very mysterious magic weapon, which only Ksitigarbha seems to be able to create and obtain, so the 6-eared monkey's curse of tightening the sprocket could only have been provided by Ksitigarbha. In addition, the 6-eared monkey's powers and weapons were on a par with those of the Son Goku. The Son Goku's achievements were the result of many miraculous encounters, whereas the 6-eared monkey, who had made no claim to fame beforehand, turned out to be comparable to the Son Goku as soon as he came out of the mountain, which is hard to say if he did not have a big force behind him. At that time, the Son Goku was able to fight with the 6 ears to a draw, and there was also the Earth Bodhisattva, together with the 10 temples of the Yan-Lo, who could be said to have crushed the 6 ears. In the end, it was because the 6 ears were followed by the Ru-Lai, and the Earth Bodhisattva was at the top of the hierarchy that to listen carefully didn't dare to tell the truth, and in the end when he came in front of the Ru-Lai referred to the real Son Goku as a 6-eared monkey, and used a gold bowl to suppress his magical powers, and in the end, the 6 ears beat him to death, and he went to fetch the scriptures in the place of the Son Goku. Since Son Goku has never been to Mount Huaguo since then, does this theory hold water? The Formosan monkey and the Monkey King. It is actually very easy to argue against the reasons mentioned earlier. First of all, it is the reason of roulette. He wanted to replace Son Goku with 6 ears, so he didn't want to replace the longevity monk and the 8 preceptors, but what did 6 ears do? He will be the Tang monk beat, and then snatched the customs ultimatum and other objects, and let a few monkeys will change into the Tang monk master and disciple. The Tang monk is the golden cicada reincarnation, is the most important character of the team to get the scriptures. If the Tang monk can use the monkey to change, then also take a what the scriptures? If the Tang monk can be changed by monkeys, then what other scriptures will be taken? It can be seen that even if there is a great power behind the 6 ears, it will not be roulette. Secondly, it is impossible for the Monkey King to be killed by a single blow. The Supreme Lord himself said that the Monkey King ate 5 pots of immortality pills from him, and that the pills inside the pills were both raw and ripe, and that they had various effects. As a result, the Monkey King was calcined into a single piece of fire using 3 different kinds of fire and achieved the body of a golden warrior, and even the torturing tools of the heavenly court that were specially designed to cut down and kill the deities could not harm the Monkey King even a little bit, so it was hard for him to be beaten to death by the Formosan monkey, and how would he be beaten to death by the Formosan monkey, and so the one that could be beaten to death could only be the Formosan monkey. In the end, to listen carefully indeed did not dare to say anything, but it was not because he was worried about the power behind the 6 ears, but because he was worried that a fight between the real and the fake Monkey King would jeopardize the hell, so he suggested that they should go to Rule's place. However, if it was not Rule's conspiracy, there are a few doubts that are hard to explain. First, how did the spell come to be, and second, why did the 6th ear dare to go to Rule when he knew that he was a fake? What is the identity of the 6-eared monkey? In fact, in the original story, Rule's words had already made it clear that the 6-eared monkey was the Monkey King. When the Monkey King was fighting in the Western Paradise, Wu Chenjen wrote a poem, the first line of which reads, "A man with a double mind is a source of calamity," and the 7th line reads, "The door of Zen is a place where one has to learn to be a monk." The 7th line is, "In the door of Zen, one must learn the trick of not having a heart." When Son Goku's ear was about to arrive at Lingshan, Rule spoke a passage of scripture, the first line of which is, "There is something in not having, and there is nothing in not having," which simply means that there is nothing in nothing. Simply put, there is nothing in nothing, there is nothing in nothing. Immediately after he said to those Bodhisattvas and Lohan, "You are all one heart, and see the 2 hearts even fight and come." The 2 minds were fighting each other, and the monkey with 6 ears was the monkey's demon. According to a Qing dynasty iguanist, the so-called 4 monkeys are actually the 4 minds of greed, anger, idiocy, and obstruction, while the 6 ears are the 6 consciousnesses of happiness, anger, sorrow, joy, evil, and desire. Therefore, when the 6 ears were beaten to death, it was because the Monkey King had severed his own mind demon. In the Qing dynasty, there was also a Taoist priest with a broken dream, who said that Wu Cheng'en meant to tell the world that if one wants to succeed, one must not have a second heart. At first, Son Goku's attitude towards the quest for the scriptures was uncertain. He only promised to Kunyum in order to get out of the 5 Fingers Mountain. So when he encountered a little setback or had a bad time with the longevity monk, he wanted to go back to the mountain of flowers and fruits. There was always a thought in his mind that he would go to the Western Paradise to obtain the scriptures in the quickest way possible, and then go back to his own home, not owing each other anything. This is why the 6-eared monkey in the original story beat up the longevity monk, snatched the passport, and turned the monkey demon into the longevity monk and his disciples to get the scriptures in the West. This is the evil in Son Goku's heart, and the killing of the 6-eared monkey with a stick is Son Goku's spiritual journey of preserving the good and removing the evil. The 2 of them are one and the same, which is why their magical powers, looks, and the spell on their heads are exactly the same. After killing his delusion, Son Goku turned his heart towards Buddha, and he never mentioned returning to the mountain of flowers and fruits again, and the 4 of them worked together with one heart and mind to achieve the rightful fruits of their endeavors. Back to the dark myth, Monkey King. Nirvana. Goku said, "Once you have entered this round of rebirth, you can't think of easy Nirvana again." Nirvana has several meanings, but here, in this context and in the gameplay of jumping through hoops, it refers to rebirth, or the higher realm of immortality. Following on from what we said earlier about the 6th ear, the 6th ear laid the groundwork and the threads of the game. Knowing how things will develop after the scripture taking, it first meets with Goku to let it know that there is such a self, then dies and waits for a chance to be resurrected to start its destiny. So, what is its destiny? To put it in a larger sense, it is to save the lives of the people without fear of power. On a smaller scale, it is to save itself. If you don't save yourself, you can't save the people. If you don't save the people, you can't become yourself. But then again, in Buddhism, after death, one has to enter the 6 paths of reincarnation, so it's not just a question of resurrection, it's a question of reincarnation. You can't control the time, the place, or even the species. Unless you are not really dead, or you are already immortal. In the Huayan Sutra, it is said, in the future, the roots and the 5 dust realms will be destroyed, and the fools will think that they are in Nirvana. When all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas attain enlightenment, they turn to the Arya and attain the wisdom of the original consciousness. In the Mahayana Tantra, it is said, all sentient beings have the original Arya consciousness, which is perfect and pure, transcending the world and being the same as Nirvana. The general meaning of these 2 passages is, and I'm interpreting this blindly, that ordinary people think that cutting off the 3 realms and the 5 dusts is Nirvana, and that Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have attained Arya consciousness themselves in order to obtain the wisdom that is inherent in all beings, and that they are not born and do not perish. In fact, all beings are born with Arya consciousness and are capable of fulfilling all kinds of dharmas, and are innately equipped to achieve Nirvana. Nirvana here is not the same as the aforementioned rebirth, but is a realm in which one cannot be born or die. Therefore, it can be guessed that the 6th ear is actually not low in realm. After all, there is wisdom added, and has realized the Arya consciousness, and can get out of the trap by means of false death, and can be resurrected again by means of a certain method. For example, if a soul kidnaps a statue of Buddha in a Buddhist temple, after the resurrection, 6 ears embarks on the path he used to take to rescue the golden cicada, and awakens another self to fulfill the righteousness. Seeing the heart, seeing the nature, seeing the self. If we look at the above analysis from the perspective of the legend of Goku, we will find that it is a story of self-redemption. If you are 30 years old and go back to the time when you were 20 years old to see yourself, what would you say to yourself? I am afraid everyone has his or her own answer. The answer of the 6-eared macaque is sacrifice. In the final duel between the 2 Gokus in the legend of Goku, the Goku with the gold hoop knocked the Goku without the gold hoop to death, just because Cicada called out to him, and the Goku without the gold hoop hesitated, so he clubbed him to death. However, the victor did not get any satisfaction and pleasure from this, especially when he saw a purple veil clutched by Cicada when she broke the fingers of the loser. He felt that something in his body cracked, as if a piece of stone had been shattered. It was only then that Goku realized that the cracked stone in his body was called his heart. After that, the Buddha directly called him 6 ears and asked him to confess his sins and convert to Buddhism. This is purely a case of killing the monkey and condemning the heart. At this moment, Goku finally realized that there are some things that he still can't accept and can't do. So what to do? If everything in this world is wrong, then do what you need to do, what you want to do. This is nature, this is nature, this is an inalienable part of oneself. Unfortunately, I am still no match for K. But K says he has lost. I use the hoop to bind the truth and goodness of his heart, only to force out his evil and hatred. He cannot help but fight with his own power as long as he still has hope for life, but he cannot defeat himself, and then he will have to beg me to distinguish right and wrong for him, and at that time, when I say that the Son Goku is how it is how it is. But I still can't calculate. He would rather die than lose. Probably, in the last moment, the remaining Goku has made up for himself, or found himself. He has no regrets and will never return. Going back to the dark myth, what if Goku and 6 ears were also separated from each other? What if although they are born as one, they have their own destinies, and one day either 6 ears completes Goku or Goku fulfills 6 ears? The spirit of the dark myth is the same as that of the legend of Goku, a lonely and tragic journey of self-redemption.